van Oranje, and he is going to explain to us how he plans to make the Netherlands a unicorn nation. His initiative is called TechLeap.NL, and that is a major collective effort to bolster the growth and standing of Dutch scale-ups. He's being joined, of course, by our chair, Yossi Vardi, and I'd like to welcome them to the stage. Please come up to the stage, Your Royal Highness.
Where do you want me? Left, right? We take one couch, or you take yours?
I will sit on 2 couches.
You sure? This is big enough?
More or less.
Okay.
Prince Constantijn, you told me that the right way to pronounce your name is Constantijn.
Yeah, sort of.
Or more or less.
Yeah.
It's very nice to have you, and I think in the past we have done 1 or 2 talks. It's always very interesting. And you are leading the national effort of supporting startups.
Yeah.
Will it be a fair definition?
A what?
A fair definition of...
Yeah, no, I think so. Well, we actually, it's more about really developing the tech scene and providing a climate for entrepreneurs and allowing technology to be commercialized more effectively and getting more capital into the market. So yeah, I guess so.
So it's a wide area of empowering technology and science to work for the well-being of the country.
It's very comfortable, this sofa.
You like it?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
So maybe we should go to sleep.
Don't know about the color combination, but it's okay.
Yeah. Very good. And the organization was called, I think, Startup Delta, but now it's called TechLeap.NL.
Yeah, so initially this was born in 2014 and started 2015, and really focus was on startups, and it was establishing the Netherlands as an important tech country, and communicating that to the outside world and connecting what was happening inside, and so that was a suitable name, and it was about startups, but and we consider us a river delta, so a lot of it is delta, and they thought it was a good name. We now want to do something considerably more ambitious. We want to focus much more on growth, and we're a bit tired of explaining all the time that you have a startup and you have a scale up, and there are always people that make a science out of the semantics of these things, and really what it is about high growth companies in tech. And we want to support those, and so now it's TechLeap.NL. NL is Dutch.
NL is Dutch.
Tech is clear, and leap is the big leap forward.
NL is Dutch, but it's also an Italian fuel company.
Yeah, that's NL.
NL, okay.
Not NL.
Can you share with us the current scene of the industry in the Netherlands?
Yeah, it's very active currently. The main kind of epicenter of tech, of SaaS companies, of fintech is Amsterdam. And then you have kind of spots everywhere. You have a bit high tech and in the south and the east, where you have a lot of companies that will be dealing with additive manufacturing or nanotech and semiconductors, for instance. And in Rotterdam, you obviously will have a lot around logistics, and in the center, a lot about agriculture and ag tech. So it's really, it's a small country. Everything is within 2 hours drive. And within 2 hours drive, you get a full ecosystem with the 13 universities. We have obviously very important neighbors in Germany, which is an interesting market. So we are quite well positioned at the time, and it's the Dutch like innovation, basically. So got a lot of good stuff to work with.
Yeah. The main players, which everybody knows, every kid knows from the Dutch industries, of course, companies like People, Royal Dutch Shell, Unilever. I think all of them started in the Netherlands. Can you share with us some other major players in the industry?
Well, we're very proud of a company like ASML, which is which builds the machines that make wafers. So it's really at the start of the whole value chain of semiconductors. And they're basically, I wouldn't say monopolist, but they have, I think, about 95% market share, which is really a strong company. Then obviously we have Philips, and those are kind of more old tech companies, and NXP. But we're actually most proud of Adyen with their IPO last year, and Elasticsearch, their IPO, and a company called GitLab, which is operating out of San Francisco, and HackerOne, which is a cyber tech company, also operating out of San Francisco. And so I'm really actually more proud of all of the new stuff that's emerging from the Netherlands.
And there is a lot going on in the new stuff in the area?
There's a lot going on with new stuff, Yossi.
Good. You told me that you have about 25 VCs active in...
A bit more.
A bit more.
No, we have 25, and now actually a bit more, but that signed up to an recent initiative.
Can you share with us about it?
Okay. Yeah, so we had quite an appalling statistics on the number of female-led companies that were supported by VC. I think it was 1.6. It could be a bit more, but it's something like that. I think the US is at 2.2. So, and you know what UK is doing a bit better. But on the whole, these are really bad statistics. And so we said, well, what are we going to do about this? So we actually brought together a group of investors and basically asked them, is this a problem and that you want to address? And actually, there was a lot of eagerness to do something about it. So we basically just provided a process in which they came to a certain commitment, how to come to, within 3 years, to diversify their portfolios, diversify their investment teams, how to hire a more diverse employee base. And the cool thing is, I mean, it's really an initiative from the industry and working together to find solutions. Because nobody says it's easy to change venture capital into a more diverse industry.
You know, in other countries, when you hear such a statement, people usually applaud. That somebody is taking an active steps in order to increase the number of females in the industry.
No, there are other countries where people start applauding when people on stage tell you to applaud. So,
no, I think it's amazing, but it sounds to me that the target is quite aggressive one.
Well, actually, funny enough, yesterday was an article about Uber, about their diversification. They aim also for 35%. I don't know why. For us, we try to look at some kind of an objective benchmark. And if you look at traditional SMEs, in the Netherlands, 35% is run by women.
Really?
So it's not a strange number. We also looked at, we talked with the VC community, said what is reasonable? You can say 50%, but it's not going to be reasonable for them. So it has to be ambitious, maybe unachievable for some, but it is at least something that they can achieve, and if they apply all the kind of tools that are there, and if they are aware of some of the implicit biases that exist against investing in women.
Yeah, very nice. 35% women in 3 years.
Yeah, so in part it is actually looking at the existing portfolio and seeing with the founding teams how they can bring more women into management teams. So it's basically when you are hiring, be aware that there are actually options, and you might have to go through an extra effort. You might have to understand better why women would want to apply for such a job. If you are presenting yourself as an all-male company and you're doing some really male things and you're only emphasizing like how male you are, then it's unlikely that women will actually want to work for your company. So there are things you can do.
We are going to invite you in 3 years, and check how well.
Well, you should invite the VC. It's not my. I'm just providing the process. It's their commitment, and but I'm happy to. I'm happy to take questions then.
It's really amazing. How do you see the role of the Netherlands within the grand scheme of high tech and this ecosystem? What role can Netherlands play?
Well, I think tech and entrepreneurship is a bit survival of the fittest. Everybody wants to be more techy, will be more enabling for tech. Will be, we want to all attract more money. We want to attract. So basically, everybody's in the same game. I think that the successful ecosystem will be those that are well connected with other places. For instance, with places like Tel Aviv or with Silicon Valley, Boston. For us, London, New York is of course also very important. We just recently been to Toronto, but also Stockholm, Berlin. These are all places, and Paris obviously, that are really relevant for our entrepreneurs, but also for our investors. So it's, yes, there is this competition. We all, and it's good, I think. We want to reduce red tape. We want to create a better investment climate, so reduce taxes on investment, do all kinds of things we can do to support the system. On the other hand, you know, we are geographically in the same space. It's a common market, and all of that is also important for entrepreneurs. So really providing those bridges between tech hubs is also really important.
And it seems to me that you are doing quite a bit of traveling for this purpose. I saw you, I think in May in France. I saw you a little bit before in Israel, always promoting the Dutch tech ecosystem. How much traveling you are doing per year?
Oh, well, not so much. It's not like I'm a CEO of a big company that really, you know, I don't spend like 200 days a year on the road, so no, it's not so bad. And I don't do a lot of Dutch promotion, actually.
Yeah.
I think...
Shameless Dutch promotion.
No, I don't. No, I think it's also not credible. You know, I can go and stand here on the stage and say how great the Dutch are. It's just not credible. That's why I talk to you, so you can make all the nice comments. But I can say a lot of wonderful things about Israel. Israel's a great company. It's a great country, wonderful company.
Thank you very much. What did you say?
Yeah, that you're so rude as Israelis. But that's a compliment from a Dutchman.
That's an Israeli compliment, you know.
Yeah, no.
You know, what we are doing, we call it shameless Zionist propaganda. This is the theme.
The shameless part is quite accurate, I think.
Good. Let's go and talk a little bit about Europe.
Yep.
How would you rate the innovation level in Europe as a whole?
So I think if you look now if you look at the VC spend, and if you look at the number of companies coming out of Europe, and I include the UK, and the UK has done a remarkable job the last 10 or even 20 years in stimulating tech and investment. So, but also look at Stockholm, what's coming out of there. Look at what Amsterdam is producing, and Berlin, but also, you know, many countries of Europe. So there's a lot of stuff going on. The question really is, are we going fast enough compared to China and compared to the US, where access to data is much easier, where the investments into AI and these kind of technologies have been much more aggressive, and where there's a market that is of a much bigger size. So this really is an issue. So we in Europe don't have that kind of market. So you're always one step behind, or you have to basically start a company in the US or in China if you want to have that kind of advantage. So yes, I think we are, and in a sense, in a slight disadvantage. I think we have been emphasizing technology too much. We have a lot of technology in our universities, but we're not transferring that into commercial products at a speed and a scale that would make us more relevant. But I do think has been a massive learning curve. I mean, take an event like this. 10 years ago, or 9 years ago, we were going around, we're doing digital transition and all that, and you had Le Web. London didn't have an event, really. TechCrunch came, I think, a bit later. But all of this was not happening yet. There were only few people, and we then set up the Digital Leaders Club with the founders of Spotify, of Skype, and just to demonstrate that it was possible in Europe. Yeah. You know, it said you can actually grow a sizable company in Europe. And we had obviously the example of Booking.com, and we had a few others. And this now, if you compare that where we are now, you know, maybe it's not fast enough, maybe it's not big enough yet, but definitely there's been a massive change. And you also see it in the number of Silicon Valley-based venture capitalists actually coming here and investing here, because, and it used to be 5 years ago, it was, oh, we're only interested in China, we're going to Singapore, Europe is boring, it's old-fashioned, and now actually you're seeing that that's turning around, and some really interesting companies are coming from here. I mean, like the fintechs that are emerging also from London, and they are attracting a lot of capital, and they're returning better returns than most of the investments in America. So I'm very positive, actually, yeah, well, that's maybe.
But I have to tell you something. I attended a meeting of a major European telco, and the CEO said the following. He said, in United States you have 4 telcos, 4 major telcos. In China, you have 3. First market, 350 million people, China 1.4. In Europe, whatever the size of Europe it is, you have 23 countries, I think. Each one you have mandatory, you have 4 competitors. So you have about 100 telcos competing for the same market with 23 different languages. So doesn't it create a handicap, for the competitiveness of Europe?
Well, for that sector, it does. But we tried to. I used to work at the European Commission and was in charge of the digital agenda. So we were also in charge of the telecoms market, and we tried to further liberalize it. And we actually tried to create an environment in which you'd have a consolidation of telcos in Europe. So you have the vertically integrated telcos, and then you'd have more platform or actually more infrastructure players like Altice you have, and now you have a few of those. But and that would have probably provided the kind of scale that was necessary for a highly competitive telco market. I don't really see that our startups are negatively affected by the infrastructure provided by telcos. I think many of our countries have very fast telco infrastructure. I mean, my country is up leading in the world. I mean, there's just Korea and a few others that are beyond that. So the system has not provided very negative outcomes for all of the kind of the stack on top of the network. So I don't know. It would have been much better if we could have consolidated further. But every country wants to retain their own kind of state, especially the smaller countries. They're very concerned that Deutsche Telekom or Orange will come and basically obliterate their local player, and they find that they are just the edge of a much bigger market, and now they are the core of this market. So that's politics, and I've kind of stepped out of that. So I leave you with your analysis, and it doesn't trouble me so much. What does trouble me actually, and this actually I find it interesting of companies, is that you have such a critically important industry on which the whole tech industry is built. I mean, that they provide the infrastructure, and they are not able to monetize that in an effective way. And that the industry has been so slow, and you see this with many companies that are so slow in adjusting to the digital reality. And so you have these rent-seeking business models like roaming, etc. And instead of kind of being able to monetize the access provided to companies like Netflix and others that have huge demand for high quality bandwidth, and they're basically just free riding on the infrastructure. So somewhere I do think that there's a lack of incentive to innovate in that space.
I don't know how, but the time is already gone. But before we close the session, you have here today about over 4,000 people from the tech industry. Why don't you give them a hard sell why they should consider coming to the Netherlands? Though we agreed that you are not going to do shameless promotion.
So I don't do sales, so if you know better what you need, and if you want to come to the continent, if that's necessary, then the Netherlands or Amsterdam has a very good proposition. So English-speaking population, we have enough
quality of life.
Yeah, well, and we are very good connection digitally and also through logistics and all that. But I mean, it's if you prefer France and baguette every morning, you go to Paris, and if you like, I don't know, smørrebrød, you go to Denmark.
No, we want, and if you want herring.
If you want herring, you can go to Denmark, but then it will be marinated herring. And if you want pure herring and you want to slide it down your throat in one go, then you go to the Netherlands. He likes that, you know. Okay. If you like falafel, guys, we go to Israel.
Thank you for the promotion for the falafel.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, like always, and we hope to see you here next year. And good luck, really, with the 35% initiative. It's really very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness, and thank you very much, Dr. Yossi. Next up will